Ever wondered why some people always get their way, and you're the one swallowing your words? Why they speak up with confidence while you lie awake replaying the conversation, wishing you'd said what was burning inside you? There's that knot in your stomach, the words you rehearse in your head but never say. You tell yourself, it's not worth it, I'm bigger than this, I'll keep the peace. But what if I told you, your silence isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal? Every time you bite your tongue, nod along, or laugh off something that hurt you, you're paying a price. And it's far higher than you realize. Because silence doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you small. In this video, we're diving deep into why your fear of conflict is stealing your life, and how you can reclaim your power using the fierce wisdom of one of history's boldest thinkers, Friedrich Nietzsche. If you've ever felt trapped between being the good person and speaking your truth, stay with me. What you're about to hear might just set you free. Why do so many of us keep quiet, even when everything inside us is screaming to speak? It starts early. From childhood, we're taught that good kids don't talk back. We learn that pleasing others keeps us safe and loved. So we swallow our anger, smooth over disagreements, and become experts at hiding what we really think. Then comes the fear of rejection. The fear that if we speak our mind, people might leave, judge, or label us as difficult. So we trade honesty for approval, thinking we're choosing peace. And let's not forget the good person syndrome. We convince ourselves that silence equals maturity, that turning the other cheek makes us noble, that nice people don't argue. But here's the truth. Silence might feel safe, but it comes with a deadly price. At work, you let colleagues take credit for your ideas because you don't want to seem confrontational. In family gatherings, you laugh off offensive comments to keep the peace. In relationships, you stay silent about your needs until resentment poisons the love you once felt. Over time, the cost piles up. Resentment simmers under the surface. Your self-esteem erodes because you've taught yourself your voice doesn't matter. And emotional fatigue sets in, leaving you drained from pretending everything's fine. But silence has a secret cost, and Nietzsche saw it clearer than anyone. Friedrich Nietzsche wasn't afraid to rip the mask off human nature. In his explosive work on the genealogy of morals, he introduces one of his most provocative ideas: slave morality versus master morality. So what does that mean? In the ancient world, the strong, the warriors, nobles, conquerors defined good as strength, power, and the fearless assertion of their will. They didn't apologize for wanting more. To them, life was about creating, conquering, and carving out their place in the world. But the weak, the oppressed, and those who couldn't win in direct confrontation faced a problem. They lacked power. So they flipped the script. They rebranded what they couldn't have: strength, ambition, dominance, as evil. Meanwhile, they called their own qualities, humility, obedience, submission, good. This inversion became what Nietzsche called slave morality, a value system born not from genuine virtue but from fear, resentment, and survival. Fast forward to today, and the echoes of this morality are everywhere. We're taught that being nice means never making waves, never disagreeing, and certainly never standing up too forcefully for ourselves. But is being nice always genuine virtue? Or is it often just fear in disguise? Think about how many people stay silent on social media, terrified of saying the wrong thing and facing public shaming, or how often we avoid honest conversations in relationships because we fear conflict or rejection. Nietzsche's brutal insight is this: much of what we call virtue is simply fear wearing a mask. So if silence is rooted in fear, what happens to all the anger we suppress? Let's talk about one of the darkest emotions festering beneath the surface of silence: resentment. Think of resentment as anger that never found its voice. It's the fiery words you rehearse in the shower but never say out loud. It's the rage trapped behind polite smiles. And it doesn't just disappear. Instead, it mutates into symptoms like rumination, replaying conversations over and over, imagining perfect comebacks you wish you'd delivered, passive aggression, small digs, icy silences, subtle sabotage instead of honest confrontation, a victim mindset, believing the world is unfair and everyone is out to take advantage of your kindness. Nietzsche saw resentment as the inevitable byproduct of slave morality. When people can't express their will openly, when they believe strength and anger are evil, they turn that energy inward. They construct a moral story where their silence makes them superior. But inside, they're boiling. Here's the emotional truth. Every time you stay silent and fantasize about what you should have said, that's resentment festering. Every time you swallow disrespect and later seethe in private, that's the poison at work. It slowly erodes your peace, your confidence, and your sense of self. And the cruelest part? Resentment makes you feel righteous, even as it chains you deeper into victimhood. But Nietzsche didn't just diagnose the disease, he gave us the cure. Nietzsche spoke of one of life's most misunderstood forces, the will to power. Many people hear that phrase and think it's about crushing others under your heel. But that's not what Nietzsche meant. The will to power isn't about dominating people, it's about self-assertion. It's the force inside you that wants to live fully, speak truthfully, and stand tall in the world without shame. It's the quiet courage it takes to say no when you mean no, instead of going along to keep the peace. Set boundaries at work, in family, or in love, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Speak up in a trembling voice because silence would be a bigger betrayal. It's easy to confuse healthy conflict with aggression, but they're not the same. Aggression seeks to hurt, control, or overpower. Healthy conflict is about defending your dignity, your needs, and your truth. It's about standing up for yourself without stepping on others. Nietzsche's insight was radical. Conflict isn't violence, it's the birthplace of identity. When you engage in necessary conflict, you discover who you really are. Your values, your boundaries, your desires, they become clear only when tested against resistance. Without conflict, your identity remains a fog shaped by what others want you to be. And here's the truth. The will to power isn't reserved for philosophers or warriors. It's for anyone who's tired of living small and silent. But reclaiming your power isn't instant, it's a transformation. Nietzsche didn't just diagnose human suffering, he gave us a roadmap out of it. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he describes the three great transformations of the spirit, the camel, the lion, and the child. These aren't just poetic symbols. They're stages we all move through on the journey to reclaim our true selves. First comes the camel. The camel is the burden bearer. It kneels under the weight of other people's expectations. It says yes to everything, even when it wants to scream no. It's the silent martyr who prides itself on endurance. Staying late at work because you should. Letting family guilt you into obligations. Accepting disrespect in relationships to keep the peace. The camel believes virtue means carrying burdens without complaint. But there's no creation here, only exhaustion. Then comes the lion. One day the camel has had enough. It rebels and transforms into the lion. The lion learns to say no. It fights the greatest dragon of all, the dragon named Thou Shalt. This dragon has scales shimmering with commandments like, Thou shalt always be agreeable. Thou shalt never disappoint others. Thou shalt avoid conflict. The lion roars back with, I will. It destroys old rules to carve out a space where it can exist authentically. But even the lion's defiance is not the end. Finally comes the child. The child is pure creation. It's the spirit reborn, free from burdens and rebellion alike. The child invents new values, plays, dreams, and lives in joyful authenticity. It no longer reacts against rules, it creates its own. At work, it dares to pursue unconventional paths. In relationships, it loves without pretending. In self-image, it sheds roles and lives lightly. The child is freedom and possibility. But what does it mean to truly become who you are? At the very core of Nietzsche's philosophy lies a powerful command. Become who you are. Simple words. Brutal truth, because here's the reality. Most people never become who they truly are. Why? Because silence and fear keep them trapped in roles they didn't choose. When you avoid conflict, you start shaping your identity around what others expect. You live for approval, praise, and acceptance. Your choices become smaller, your voice grows quieter, and piece by piece you vanish from your own life. Instead of discovering your desires, values, and dreams, you become a mirror reflecting everyone else's needs. But Nietzsche insisted that only through facing conflict do you discover who you truly are, because in conflict you learn clarity of values. You find out what you're willing to fight for and what you're willing to let go. Stronger boundaries. You begin to define where you end and others begin. Confidence. Each time you speak your truth, even shaking, you prove to yourself that your voice matters. Becoming who you are means reclaiming the courage to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. It's standing in the fire of disapproval and still holding your ground. But here's the hard truth. This path is not for the faint of heart. It's uncomfortable, lonely at times. It will cost you certain relationships, old identities, and illusions of safety. Yet the reward is priceless, a life that finally belongs to you, because silence isn't harmless, it's complicity. People tell themselves that silence is noble, that keeping the peace is a sign of maturity. But here's the brutal truth. Silence is not peace, it's a tomb for your will. Every time you swallow anger instead of speaking up, that fury doesn't disappear. It turns inward, festering into anxiety, bitterness, or quiet despair. Over time, your emotions start to shut down. You become numb. You smile politely while your true feelings remain locked away. And here's the harshest part. People notice. Those who act in bad faith quickly learn they can exploit your silence. At work, colleagues dump their responsibilities on you because you never say no. In relationships, partners cross lines because you never call them out. Friends and family take advantage of your easygoing nature, leaving you drained and resentful. But the price of silence goes beyond your personal life. It corrodes society itself. Injustice flourishes when good people say nothing. Toxic work cultures thrive because no one dares to speak the truth. Abusive systems remain intact because silence gives them cover. Each unspoken boundary is an invitation for someone to cross it. Every moment of silence is a chance for lies to grow. So remember, silence is not peace, it's a tomb for your will. So how do you finally break free? So you're tired of swallowing your words. You're ready to reclaim your voice. But where do you start? First, acknowledge this truth. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's fear walking forward anyway. Start small. Nietzsche might talk about lions and dragons, but you don't have to slay the biggest beast on day one. Instead, begin with micro-confrontations. Practice saying tiny no's, turn down a social invite you don't want. Tell a friend, "I'm not comfortable with that joke." These small moments train your nervous system to handle conflict without collapsing. Use simple, clear boundary phrases. "That doesn't work for me. I need some time to think about this. I'm not okay with that." No explanation required, no apology needed. When discomfort surges, as it will, breathe, pause, feel your feet on the ground. Let the adrenaline pass through rather than letting it paralyze you. Another powerful tool? Visualization. Imagine your future self, the version of you who stands tall, speaks calmly, and refuses to betray their truth. Picture how proud they'd be of you for using your voice, even trembling. Because the truth is, your first shaky no is the birth of your freedom. With every small act of courage, you chip away at the walls silence has built around you. And remember, every conflict you face consciously brings you closer to becoming who you are. Imagine your life if you stopped betraying yourself. Picture a day when your voice doesn't stay stuck in your throat. A day when you speak the truth even if your hands tremble. See yourself standing there, heart pounding but stronger than you've ever been. Picture the day you say what needs to be said and the world doesn't end, but you finally begin. The silence you've kept has cost you years of hidden resentment, swallowed anger, and lost moments of authenticity. But it doesn't have to keep costing you. Because here's the final truth. Conflict is not your enemy. It's the battlefield where you become real. The life you crave, the one bursting with freedom, integrity, and self-respect, lives on the other side of hard conversations and firm boundaries. Yes, it will feel terrifying. Yes, it will shake your world, but it will also set you free. So I'm asking you now, stand up, speak up, live out loud, because your voice deserves to exist and your life deserves to belong to you. Nietzsche taught us one truth that cuts deeper than any polite silence. Silence is slavery, but courage is freedom. So now the question is yours to answer. Who are you going to become? Will you remain the camel burdened under the weight of others' expectations? Will you rise as the lion, roaring your no against every false command? Or will you become the child, free, creative, and fearlessly true to yourself? Drop a comment below. I choose my voice. Let's declare it together. Let's make it real. And if you're ready to keep exploring how philosophy can set you free, hit that subscribe button. Because the battle for your soul and your freedom is just beginning.